Excellent. Fantastic. So we've got an international audience here. Great, great, great. Oh, we got somebody popping in from San Francisco. Nice. New York. Nice. Oh my. Oh, all right. Well, I'm going to get started because we've got a lot to cover. Hi, Tara. Go ahead and welcome. Go ahead and put in the chat where you're calling in from. Very, very exciting. All right, so let's get started. If you are here, you are joining us for Operation TEDx 2025. That means you are ready. Maybe you've been dreaming of having a TEDx talk and getting on that, the biggest stage in the world. Tara, Long Island, excellent. Um, Maybe you have been dreaming of being on the biggest stage in the world. So this is the year you've decided to take that big leap. Maybe you're here because you've got this great idea and you really want to refine it and figure out how it's going to fit into the TEDx universe. Maybe you're here because you're just ready to put yourself out there. And I'm so grateful that you are all here because we need your voices. Ideas spark change. And this is what I believe. I'm imagining this is why you all are here because you want to spark change. You want to be part of making the world a better place, improving people's lives, improving the environment, whatever it is that your passion, where your passion lies, and where you think the change needs to happen, so it will ripple out and affect people around you, affect the world around you. And this is where you can start. TEDx, again, is the biggest stage on the planet, arguably. I'm going to say I'm 98% right because this is, TED is open to anyone. You don't even have to have spoken on a stage before. In fact, oftentimes some of the curators and the people who are selecting, sometimes they like to be part of your journey. And if you have a great idea, they want to be part of where they see you go. So that excites me too, because you don't have to be a seasoned speaker to get on the TEDx stage. You just need a brilliant idea or an innovative idea or an idea that's going to change minds, hearts, behavior, actions. So that's why we're here today. I am thrilled to be offering this 4 week challenge because there are so many steps to getting on the TEDx stage. And I'm not saying that to overwhelm you. I'm saying you know, there's so many things you have to think about, and they're overcomable if we really focus on what you have to contribute to the universe and to the world, and getting so specific that you are the only person in the world who has this idea and can be able to share it. So that is I think the most exciting part of this is that we are going to be doing that together today over the next 4 weeks. This week, we're going to be talking about the 3 powerful strategies for clarifying your TEDx idea. Next week, we're going to cover 3 of the most successful storytelling frameworks for impactful TEDx talks. Week 3, we're going to be thinking about the 3 insider tips for crafting a TEDx application, because that's their first engagement with you. And so we want to make sure you get noticed. And then week 4, which is December 30th, we're going to cover the 3 hacks in finding the perfect TEDx stage for you to be applying to. So those are the 4 steps we'll be taking and we'll be engaging for the next 4 weeks. And these 4 steps, once you have these foundations, you're ready. You're ready to roll. And you're ready to get on that stage. So this is exciting. So I'm going to talk about some of the barriers that maybe, some of you have had this dream for a really long time, but there are some barriers that you might be facing. And based on the registration that you filled out, some of you are saying you don't have enough time. Some of you are saying you have too many ideas and you're not sure which one to hone in on. Some of you think that you need to refine your idea to make it even more TEDx worthy. And some of you are really nervous to get on stage, especially a global one. This is a big, big stage. Not only will you be in front of an audience, but it's recorded. It's a professional recording that's going to go out into the world for other people who weren't lucky enough to be in the audience to actually listen to and really embrace your message. So those were the reasons why I think a lot of people, well, at least that's what you told me in your registration. Those are the barriers that are holding you back. And this 4 weeks is designed to actually start breaking down those barriers so it feels achievable. And hopefully, after these 4 weeks, you're ready to roll. And I'm excited that you are, because my personal mission is to get people's voices, underrepresented voices, people whose voices need to be heard on a global platform. Because the more ideas we have out there, especially with underrepresented voices, the more it shifts the conversation, the more it opens up possibilities for how the world can change, how we behave, how we act, how we see our communities, how we support our neighbors and our nations and everything in between. So let's dive in. First of all, if you can tell me, I imagine the people who usually sign up for these, we're talking about coaches, we're talking about entrepreneurs, we're talking about educators, we're talking about um, uh, business people. Which one do you think you fall into? And you can be, and coaches as well, of course. Which ones do you think you fall under? Oh, thanks, Sonia, for that mission. Motivational fish keeper. Ooh, very interesting. Anyone else? Transformational speaker. Great. Aquarium is an analogy for mental health. Oh, excellent. So mental health. Got it, got it, got it. Perfect. Great. Transformational life coach. Sonia is author and speaker. My background for 30 years as a nurse. Oh my gosh, beautiful. I definitely don't think we hear enough from nurses. We hear a lot from doctors, but we don't hear a lot from nurses. So thank you, Sonia. I am so glad you're ready to share your voice with the world. Excellent. All right, so let's dive in. I want to tell you a little bit about myself first, so you know why I'm giving this webinar. I am actually a three-time TEDx speaker, but before that, I was actually a preschool teacher and a professional jazz singer. But what happened was I had this, I was part of I was supposed to be in the World Trade Center when the planes hit, and it changed my life. Of course, I called in sick, and it changed my life and everybody else's. Oh, Joanne, great, your goal, yay! Um, uh, and changed my life and everybody else's, and it shifted my life considerably. And I wrote this song and built a million voice choir around the world to sing it. And I left my life, gave away all my belongings so I could build this choir. And as I was traveling, I ended up becoming a water sanitation and hygiene trainer in Asia and Africa. I didn't know anything about it, but I learned how to do it. And because of the work we were doing, training women around the globe how to be able to provide clean water and sanitation to their communities, I started to get asked to speak everywhere. I met people like Jane Goodall and spoke alongside her, Professor Wangari Maathai and Archbishop Desmond Tutu, both Nobel Peace Laureates. I spoke at UN and the United and UN Women, World Economic Forum, US Congress, all over. And it was because, and my idea wasn't that I was doing this incredible work. The idea was investing in women would be one of the most, especially grassroots women, one of the most powerful ways we could change the world. And that was my idea. And I shared all of this information and that one woman and one person could change the world. And that was my message. And it was not just about, it wasn't just that, oh, one person can change the world. I had a very specific idea of how to do it, was investing in grassroots women, using water as an entry point for their leadership. So that was my specific idea. And I was invited to give that speech at my, uh, on multiple stages, that I've mentioned. I'm going to share my screen so you can get a sense of what I'm talking about. So yeah, so there's Archbishop Desmond Tutu. There's me at the White House. It's at U.S. Congress, and the thing is, I never dreamed of being a speaker. It was, in fact, I thought I was going to, professional jazz singer. I thought I was going to go off in the world and, be the next Gemma Fitzgerald or Ella Fitzgerald. And that, because of that tragedy that happened, and me not being in the World Trade Center, it completely changed the trajectory of my life. And all of a sudden, I had a mission. I had a mission that was outside of myself. It was beyond me getting personal fame. It was about helping the world. And that's what I believe all of you are here to do, is to be able to introduce your idea that will change the world. So the TEDx stage is arguably, as I mentioned, it is the best place to build credibility, visibility, and it will increase your chances of being a highly paid speaker, because the minute you have that TEDx stamp on your resume, you're legit. You are vetted. Nobody even needs, you already have a speaker reel. Somebody could go and watch that, and you're already a step ahead of so many other speakers. So not only is it going to get your idea out there and change the world, but it's also going to benefit you as an individual. So that's why I love helping people get their TEDx talks, because it's just going to catapult and skyrocket everything about you and your idea. So I wanted to also talk about the TEDx effect. So there's a difference between TED and TEDx. TED's the main stage, and that was the original stage that hosted these ideas, and it was only open to elite audiences, and it was only, and the people who spoke on them were experts in the field for so many years. They were entrepreneurs and academics and all that stuff. But then they realized, what I love about this is that TED realized that there are so many more ideas that aren't getting out to everyone. And there are so many ideas from people who may not have those credentials that people who are in the main TED stage will have. And so what they did was they started opening up to other communities to be able to self-organize their own events. And so and that's when TEDx was born. And TEDx has catapulted some of the most famous speakers. So if you know Simon Sinek, he was all about starting the why businesses don't really get rabid fans or rabid customers, is because they haven't started the why. They don't know their mission. Then you have another TEDx, and here he is giving a talk with just a flip chart. Then we have Brene Brown, another really famous TEDx speaker, again, not the main stage, TEDx. And she talks about the power of vulnerability. She's got a Netflix special. Both of them demand over $150,000 a talk. So TEDx is just, like I said, skyrocketing. For me, how it helped me was that when I did my first TEDx talk, I got invited to speak at U.S. Capitol. That's an image of me at the U.S. Capitol, and alongside senators and Congress members. And then I got invited to teach at Stanford. And here's the crazy part of teaching at Stanford is I don't have a college degree. Meanwhile, because of this credibility. And then I got 2 more TEDx talks. So again, the TEDx effect. You get that one, and it just opens up a ton of opportunities. I wanted to quickly just go over. So how many people are ready for 2025 to be their year? And what is the barrier that's holding you personally back? What is the barrier? I want to make sure that we address those today. Okay. Joanne's got her goal is 2025 TEDx. Great. I'm happy you're helping us. Yay. It's my year for sure. Great. Oh, this is so exciting. All right. We got this. We got this. All right. I want to quickly go over the TEDx process so you understand what you need to do in order to get it, because there's much more. Yeah. The biggest barrier is the cost to get into some of the places. Oh, so the cost is, there, so it doesn't cost anything to get in it, but it just costs you to get yourself there. That's if travel to the TEDx stage that you want to travel to. You're ready, I mean, to get there. Yes, yes, yes. And we'll talk about that in week 4. Week 4 on December 30th, we'll go deep into how to find the right TEDx talks, event stages that you want to go on. So the TEDx process usually goes this way. You have your idea, and then you apply. And then when you apply, sometimes they'll ask you to do an application video, like a 1 to 3 minute, and it's either with the first round when you first apply, or they'll ask you to do it when if you get called to the second round. There might be an interview or an audition, and then you get accepted. So there's a few steps here. And even within the coming up with the idea and application, that's what we're going to cover in the next 4 weeks, because that's the core, right? Everything else is just when you get to the next stage. So we're going to be talking about your novel idea today, and we'll talk about the application in the next few weeks. Okay, let's get into the deep part of it. So before we get into your idea, we need to just determine what TEDx is. So TEDx is it's bringing new ideas, innovative, new perspective, and it's a platform for sharing those challenges and challenging the status quo, sparking conversations that matter. And TEDx speakers share ideas that, one, they push the boundaries, they make sure that people are thinking differently, acting differently, approaching the world in a different way, and taking action that's going to improve it. And it's also inspiring change. We're looking at personal growth. We're looking at collective action. We're looking at, it's not just about entertainment. We're thinking about change. We're looking to see change and to spark it. And then this is the one really important thing that we need to make sure we're clear on what it's not. So TEDx is not about self-promotion. They know a commercial when they see one. So they want to make sure it's not about self-promotion. This is about sharing ideas. They don't like pseudoscience, so they really do want to have evidence-based or at least grounded in facts solutions, and they don't want to have any baseless claims. We can talk a little bit about, how personal stories might have sparked some what would be considered maybe not grounded in facts, but because it's your personal story, we can talk about that later. They don't want any political or religious agendas. They really do want to be very neutral. And then they don't want to hear something that's already been said. There are a lot of ideas, when we talk about mental health, Michael, there's some things that we want to be super clear about what makes your idea different than other people who have mental health solutions. So here's a significant change that's happened with TED and TEDx. So the original slogan for TEDx was ideas worth sharing, which is a lovely thought because that's what it was. It was just, here's a bunch of ideas, do with it what you will, whoever was watching it, do with it what you will. These are great. These are ideas that we think are worthy of other people listening to them. But what they did earlier this year around April, they changed the slogan. And I love this. They changed it to ideas change everything. So if you notice, there is a huge change in the purpose, right? Ideas worth sharing is very passive. Whereas ideas change everything. They're putting a stake in the ground and they're saying, we don't just want ideas. We want ideas that are going to change something. They are wanting to build a movement that's not just about sharing ideas, but it's actually changing the world. So that's where we want to start coming from, what TEDx is, what TEDx is not, and what they want your idea to emerge from. So that's where we are going to be really focusing on today is the ideas we're sharing. So I have a framework that I've developed and just for coming up with your idea. And of course, the acronym is IDEA. And the IDEA stands for your idea needs to have impact. It needs to have depth. It needs to be engaging universally. And it needs to be action oriented. So let's go a little deeper on all four of those. So when I say it needs to have impact, it needs to have the potential to transform the way people think, the way they act, how they feel, or it needs to change the conditions that are doing damage, like environmental damage, or not ideal or equitable, or so societal conditions and systems. And it needs to be bold, original, and meaningful to the audience. And that's one of the core things is meaningful. We want the audience to connect to your message. So that's what impact stands for. So that's the first one in the IDEA acronym. The second one is depth. So the depth is, the ideas need to dive deep. Not any sort of that superficial level information. We want you to know the issue so deeply that you are going to come up with an idea that no one else has come up with. You want it to also resonate emotionally. So the depth is not only about your message, but about how it connects to people, how deeply it connects to people. And you want to be able to include a personal connection or, either for you or someone that makes it feel authentic and real, that you're not just spouting, facts and info, but that you're making it relevant by sharing a personal story. And then the depth also is about provoking thought and reflection, makes people think about what they used to believe and maybe challenging it and challenging that status quo. So that's the depth part. And then finally, oh no, sorry, then there's E of the IDEA acronym, engaging universally. So the ideas need to have a universal understanding. Your idea doesn't necessarily need to be about everyone in the world, but people need to be able to understand it. So and they don't necessarily need to be the ones that it's affected by or have affected in the past, but there just needs to be an element of understanding that's universal. There also needs to be an appeal to people with diverse backgrounds. You want to be able to make sure this target group or who you're speaking to is broad and appealing to many people's backgrounds, beliefs, things like that. And then finally, it needs to transcend boundaries. And you want to be able to, again, have a broader reach and transcend not only diverse backgrounds, but people's belief systems, cultural beliefs, things like that. Okay. And then finally, the action stuff. If you have any questions in between, just put it in the chat because I know I'm going kind of fast because I want to get to the 3 strategies. Yes, Mia, you will. We'll put it in. Yes, of course, of course. And then the last one is action. We want to do a deep dive into an issue rather than oops, this is a mistake. Sorry. So the action. This needs to be, I'm going to remove that because it's not right. So the action, the idea needs to be all about what can people do? What change what mindset change are happening? What kind of thing do they understand, and what knowledge do they have now that's going to prompt or inspire action? And then finally, action is all about And this is also really important in some minds of the curators. Some of them really like the actions that you are inviting people to take to do within the next 24 hours. I'm not saying every single curator wants that, but a lot of them really do want to see that action that can be done in 24 hours, because if they do it in 24 hours, they are much more likely to move forward and take that next action and take that next action. So for me, this is an important thing. And, what I really help people think about when they are um, kind of coming up with their idea and the impacts that their ideas are going to have and the actions they want people to take in order to have those impacts. So that's everything. I know that was a lot. Does anyone have any questions right now? I'm sorry I can't unmute you, but did you have any questions that you want to put um, in the chat? Or let's say this on a scale of 1 to 10, or sorry, 1 to 5, how are you feeling about this content so far? Is it understandable? Is it easy enough to grasp? 5, excellent, Sonia. Thank you, Mia. 5, excellent. 10, motivational, beautiful. John, oh, okay. 5, 6, excellent. Oh my gosh. So, Veronica, are you talking about the scale of 1 to 10 or scale of 1 to 5? Because the 6 would be, I want to make sure that I'm meeting your needs. I'll take action before being a 10. Yes. Great. I have some interviews. Okay. All right, great. Here we go. I wanted to dive in to one of those because I have strategies to find out every single one, the impact, the depth, the engaging universally, and the action. I have exercises for all those, but I wanted to talk about the one because the impact is at the core, because that's where you start. So we're going to talk about the 3 strategies for the impact. My course teaches the other 3: the depth, the engaging universally, and the action oriented. So this, like I said, if you have this, the others will be easy to figure out. So the first thing we want to do, the first strategy, is to find the root cause. Oh, great, Veronica, over 5, excellent. So the finding the root cause, the more specific you can be about what is causing the pain, the suffering, the inequity. If you can find the root cause, you'll be so specific that your idea is going to address that specificity. As opposed to if you had just had a general cause, then your idea is going to be general. So we want to find the root cause. The second thing is we want to make it personal. That's the next strategy. The reason it needs to be personal, and when I say personal, it doesn't need to be a personal story. It needs to be so personal to the listener where they understand and feel and empathize with that root cause and why it needs to be changed. That's the second one. And the third one is to challenge the status quo. What is the normal right now that is not equitable, that is unfair, that is damaging? What is that status quo, and how do we change it? So let's break down some of the most famous talks so we can differentiate between root cause and personal and status quo so that we can filter our ideas through these 3 strategies, which will help us to go even deeper. Excellent. Who here has an idea that put us in the chat? Number 1, if you have an idea you want to dig deep into, or 2, you have too many ideas, or many, many ideas. I don't think anyone has too many ideas. And then 3 is you don't have an idea yet, but you're exploring. So, we've got 1s and 2s. Okay. All right. That's good. That's good. So, okay. I know this will help both, the people who have ideas they want to dive into and those who have a lot of ideas and want to dig in. So let's first explore the most famous TEDx talk that has TED Talk. This is a TED Talk. It has the most views. So if has anyone seen this one, Sir Ken Robinson? how schools kill creativity, or does schools kill creativity? You have not. Okay. So basically, what he says is that the current system, the current model for education does not encourage creativity. And in fact, not only does it not encourage creativity, it actually kills it. It doesn't promote it at all. And he talks about the importance of creativity and why we should. His argument is that we should have more, we should focus on and prioritize creativity as much as we prioritize math and literature, or math and other, you know, uh, other topics that kill creativity. So if we look at the root cause, what he's doing is he's identifying that the actual problem with education is that it's rigid, it's one size fits all, and it doesn't support all the different learning, the ways that students learn, and it prioritizes certain subjects over creativity. How he makes it personal is that um, we all know children. Maybe we have our own, and we're finding that, and we can relate to the fact that children are being pushed into molds that don't always align with their natural talents and interests. And so, what status quo is he challenging? He's challenging governments, schools, districts, individuals, families, everything to reimagine how creativity can be a core part of the education. So that is the root cause, which is, the rigid model now, how it's personal. We all know somebody, and maybe it was one of us, maybe we were one of those children um, who were pushed to learn in this way, but that wasn't our learning style. And then the status quo. What needs to change? Who's changing it? Is that clear? Do we understand that? Because I'm going to do two more and I want to make sure we understand it. Because we're going to do, yes, great. Thanks, Sonia. All right. If you need me to stop, let me know. I don't allow them to mold me. I'm disruptive in school. Excellent. Yeah, now you're questioning your idea. Okay, great, Joanne. That's the point. Very nice, very nice. Okay, great. This is one of my favorite talks. It's Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. She is Nigerian. She went to school in the West, and her talk is called "The Danger of a Single Story." So, has anyone seen this one? Let me introduce you to this one. So essentially, she's Nigerian. She went to school in the West, and when this one is absolutely something everybody should watch, I think. And she talks about how she tells her personal story in the very beginning, saying how coming from Nigeria, which is an Anglo, uh, they speak English there as one of their main languages. She comes to the West, and when she gets a roommate in college, that roommate's very limited knowledge of Africans and the diversity of Africa assumes all of these stereotypical things about her. Oh, you speak English really well, when it's like her main language, right? So that is what she talks about, and she talks about how dangerous that is, because the thing about stereotypes is not that they're just completely wrong; it's that they're incomplete. We don't know enough about the person to make these really, you know, uh, general assumptions. And so her root cause is that people depend on stereotypes to judge people, to assess people, and they limit their scope of how they want to know the person based on the places they come from, their bias, the assumptions about their status, etc. And this fosters misunderstanding, bias, and injustice. how she makes it personal. She shares that story. She opens it up and she's very funny. Like I said, everyone should watch this. She's very funny about the assumptions that that her roommate makes about her, but also the assumptions that she makes about her roommate and about Western culture, because she talks about how in Africa, a lot of the things that they're educated by are in English, right? The books are in English. They're about, you know, in, you know, European or American people, so they don't look like her. All of these things, you know, so she's learning from a culture that is not very unfamiliar to her. So she has assumptions too, right? So she jokes around about like watching some sort of really violent movie, and she's, you know, and if we were really to follow stereotypes, she would probably believe that everyone's violent. You know what I mean? So, so that's, you know, her personal stuff. The status quo she's challenging is the dominant narratives. Um, and they are often, especially for her, you know, she uses her personal experience, the personal narrative of being African. The assumptions are, you know, poverty, crisis, you know, all of these things that are really, like I said, incomplete. And that's her argument. And so now we're not just looking at people being wrong about stereotypes. We're talking about the root cause of those stereotypes. Those stereotypes are fed by the fact that we don't have enough stories that are diverse enough so that it opens our mind to different cultures, and different beliefs and different lifestyles, everything. So is that clear? Now we see the root cause. It's not just about people, you know, thinking inappropriately or assuming bad things. It goes even deeper than that. The deeper part of it is that are we don't have the breadth of exposure, and we don't have the curiosity to be able to understand people's the difference, the breadth of the people that we're meeting. Does that make sense? So now we know the root cause is different. It's not that superficial. It's deep. It's deep in our culture. It's deep in our, you know, belief system. There's a TikTok creator from Africa playing the African stereotypes to make fun of them. Yeah, I can imagine. And that gets attention, right? Um, and I'm hoping that there's also a way in which people are challenging some of those stereotypes. Um, Great. And the final one, and this is, you know, probably one of the most well-known ones and the most applicable, that we've seen people, um, you know, use in their lives, in their companies, in everything that they do, right? So Simon Sinek, does anyone watch Simon Sinek's Start with the Why? Or even heard this term, Start with the Why? Yeah, Joanne, for sure. I love this. He's, you know, this is TEDx Puget Sound. He's using a, a flip chart. Brilliant, right? Ideas don't need big flashy images. You've read his books. Excellent. Got the book, heard it, but now I need to watch it. Yeah, Mavis, such a good one. So he talks about how companies are more successful than others. And he uses the companies as the example. This could absolutely work for individuals, teams, anything. So the so he uses business as the center, as the application. He talks about how the difference between Microsoft and or Dell, I forget which one it was, and Apple, and why we find that Apple is way more, the, you know, their clients and customers are so much more rabid than Microsoft, right? And why is that? He talks about that, the root cause is that many businesses and leaders focus on what and how. So either it was Microsoft or Dell, I don't remember. They talk about here are the functionalities, and here's what this computer can do, and here are the things that, you know, the bells and whistles, right? They just talk about what it does. So people purchase it certainly for what it does, but why does Apple have rabid customers who get every single thing? Like me, I have the phone, I have the iPad, I used to have the iPod, I have the AirPods, I have everything. I have the laptop. and the computer, I'm rabid. And you know why? It's because they start with the why. They start with, why would people want to purchase this? What's the vision of it? It's like you're cool when you buy um, Apple. You are, their slogan is think different. I want to be that. I want to think different. I don't want to be normal. So they start with the why instead of just saying, here are the functionalities. Certainly you're going to get customers for that. But they may not always just come back and come back. We can apply this not only to businesses, but to ourselves, right? What is our why? Why do we want to be an author? Why do we want to be on the TEDx stage? Why do we want to be a coach? You know, we want to share and improve people's lives. That's, so if you think about the root cause for him, businesses don't, they think the marketing should be all about what and how, but they don't think about the vision and mission. And how many, I mean, there's so many products out there. How many of you will pick products because they have uh, fair labor or good for the environment or all of those things? That's the why. And so, yeah, none, Michael, right? Okay, so that is, we just broke down three of the most famous talks. We talked about the root cause. We talked about, we didn't talk about Simon Sinek's personal. So by making it personal, he didn't talk about him personally, but he talked about people feeling a lack of purpose that's leading to disengagement and confusion. And for businesses, how there's a lack of connection between customers and employees. And that's so important because there's so many studies that show when you have cohesive teams, when you have employees that love their job or are satisfied at their job and want to really um, achieve a mission beyond selling products, achieve a mission in their uh, in their business. That's the story he can tell. It's personal because we are connecting to it personally. And then finally, the status quo. Um, he's talking about how many people don't operate with a mission. They don't have a clear vision or a sense of purpose. And, they're not inspiring people. They're just selling a product. So that's sort of the breakdown for Simon. So those are three, like I said, of the most famous TEDx talks. So now let's practice together. And you might be able to do this with yourself, right? As we go. So I'm gonna take an example, and then you think about what your idea is. So the broad topic that I want to use as an example is bullying in schools. So if you guys want to play along, go ahead and put your idea in the chat. Otherwise, just do it on your own journaling, because hopefully, if we do this, you'll be able to think about and maybe make some modifications or deepen your idea. Okay, so we're going to try this. So bullying in schools. So we want to find a solution for bullying in schools. So if we're going to look at the root cause of bullying in schools, there could be a few root causes that you address. The power of quitting your destiny. Great, Michael. Okay. So the bullying in schools, the root cause, there could be multiple root causes. But because it could be the family, starting at the family level. How can we, how can families prevent this, right? It could go that direction. It could also just go the direction of the school, right? And that's what this root cause is. It's not just about aggressive behavior or individual conflict. It's about the culture of silence that often surrounds it. So that culture of silence of people who are being bullied, not feeling safe enough to say it, or to say something and get help. It could be the culture of silence where the school doesn't take it seriously. So bullying in schools is not, the surface level is just that there you don't have aggressive, you know, that you have aggressive behavior and individual conflict. The root cause of bullying in schools, one of them could be about the culture of silence and how it's perpetuated by the school. So now you have a solution you can, and a very specific one you can offer, right? Lori, the bully as the boss or teacher is what I think of too. Yeah, exactly. How do we then address that in this culture of silence, right? Or this culture, maybe you think about this culture differently. Maybe the culture is um, feeding the leaders, right? These they have power and they're able to exert that power. Maybe they're feeding this culture of power, right? So the root cause, sometimes the one being bullied actually are the teachers. Yeah, definitely, Michael. So you guys are already coming up with super unique ideas here. Are you seeing how root cause can really make you go deep? All right, excellent. So that's the root cause. So now let's look at let's go to the next one. Um, there we go. So now let's look at the personal. So this can be personal in that maybe you were bullied, maybe you had a child that was bullied, or somebody you knew that was bullied, and maybe because or you can use an example of an avatar, like a person where you see this kinds of thing happening all the time, right? Whether it be someone you knew or a story of somebody, or an example of where of sort of the most rampant kind of bullying is happening, right? And so that connects us all because who hasn't been felt like somebody had power over them? Who hasn't felt that this, um, the empathy for the people being attacked? Who hasn't had some sort of anger and frustration with people who have power and abuse it, right? So that makes it personal. And then finally, the status quo. The status quo is the culture of silence is not it's not about avoiding confrontation, just saying, oh, ignore that person. Oh, just stay away from them, right? It's about what they're doing is they're normalizing this behavior. They're making it so that it's okay. So that's the status quo that you want to challenge. So now that you've come up with those three strategies, how might you now come up with your idea? How specific can you get about your idea that is going to change the status quo, that is going to engage the audience because it's personal and addresses a root cause that people may not have known about or know about but don't have a solution for? Does that make sense? Does anyone have any questions? I'm hoping you're getting this. I know it's a little deep, and it's a lot to go over 1 hour. So I just wanted to make sure. Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Joanne. Great, great, Tara. Excellent, excellent. Okay, great. So we've got about 8 minutes left. I just want to just do a broad overview. And I'm creating now a speech for students on loving their teachers. I love that, Michael. Oh, that's beautiful. I used to teach English in Korea, and then I taught here in the United States. And oh my gosh, the I don't know if you know this about the culture, the education culture in Korea, but they bow to their teachers. They think they're the most important employees in the country because are they are educating the future. And the only way that they believe that Korea can stay competitive and relevant is to educate their children, as it should be, Joanne. Correct. So, so that's great. I love that you want to do that, Michael. All right. So, just as an overview, we find the root cause, we make it personal, and we challenge the status quo. Those are three strategies, and simply in the impact, the I part of the idea acronym, that's impact. I go really deep. We go in depth. We do the engaging universally, and then we also talk about the action because um, that will really give you juice and round out and provide a really robust framework for your talk. So, just as your reminder, impact is all about having the potential to transform the way people think, act, or feel. It is the challenge to change conditions that are doing damage or are not ideal or inequitable, and being bold, original, and meaningful. So again, impact, depth, engaging universally, action oriented. We covered impact today. All right. So just as a reminder, we went through these two. We went through the novel idea, and thinking about what that is. So we're in the first stage. Next week, we are going to be uh, next week we're going to be talking about the three most successful TEDx storytelling frameworks. So now we're going to take that idea and now put it into some sort of outline or framework so that you now have the bones of your talk. So that's week 2, same batch time, same batch channel. Wow, what value system. Educators and future leaders, USA should definitely take several pages from them. Indeed, Mavis, indeed. Um, uh, yeah, Michael, it's true. Teachers are viewed as subhuman and want to impart that they are human and deserve to be loved. Sorry. And then is it okay to have different ideas for your TEDx, or should it always be the same topic when possible? Actually, Lori, so, I've had 3 talks. So, and I've used a similar story across 3, but I've had a different message for all of them, a different idea for all of them. So it is okay to have different ideas. In fact, one of the reasons you might want to have it is if, like I said earlier, I recommend that people apply to at least 10 to 15, different events. Let's say 2 or more people reach out and say, we'd really like you to speak on our stage. That is great. It's also a conundrum because you're like, oh my gosh, who do I say yes to? So oftentimes I encourage people to take the first one because you don't want to wait for others unless there are people are going to be informing you in and around the same time and you have an ideal stage that you want to be on. But what if 2 or 3 ask you? What I would do and what I've recommended other people do is, look, I've already accepted another, stage, but I do have an idea for something else and it's an alignment with your theme. And I wondered if you consider it. Worst case scenario, you get another, you don't get another talk, but best case scenario, you do. So always think strategically. And also too, Lori, just thinking about, um, your future beyond TEDx, the more, if you have a few ideas, you can have multiple, talks that you do. Maybe they're keynote talks, maybe they're workshops, but there's more opportunity for you to harness this TEDx talk as an established leader so that when you start offering, paid services, you've got an audience who might follow you into some of the other ideas that you have. So there's a long-term strategy for TEDx, and we'll talk a little bit about that in the future. Got notes. Oh, Michael, great. The first thing, I wonder if you covered the entire application. No, application we're doing next week, 2 weeks from now. Likelihood of being selected, how big is the pool? Yeah, we'll talk about that on December 23rd. Next week, it's all about, today was all about just refining your idea or really getting to the roots of your idea. Next week is going to be the most successful TEDx storytelling frameworks. The following week is going to be all about the application. And the week after that is how to find the platforms. So, I wanted to also let you know I'm going to be taking on a few more clients, and then I'm full for at least next year for the next 3 months. But part of what I really want to do is I want to see people get on these stages. So if you're interested, I am giving for the first 5 people, because there's going to be people on replay and here as well. If you want to have a mini session with me to maybe do this exercise or even help you refine your idea or come up with a master plan. Yes, they are, Mavis. You'll get the email. If you registered for this, you'll get the email. So if anyone wants to book a free 30-minute breakthrough call, please use here. I'm going to put the link in the chat. You can also scan Oops. You can also scan I can't, there you go, the QR code. Those will, like I said, I'm happy to sit down with you, talk through your idea, help you flush it out, and then maybe come up with a mini action plan so that you can get, started. And then if it feels like a fit that where I can support you because I have a lot of, one experience, but I also have all of these tools and guidance that can help you really be competitive, have like a stellar idea, a compelling what is it? Expertise, all of those things. Because if the application's everything, it's everything, and you need to have what your um, idea is. You need to come up with a, compelling title. You need to establish yourself as an expert. You need to talk about what the impact is going to be of people walking away from it. You need to talk about, the change you're going to see. So there's a lot of things to really think about. And it's not just about, it really has to be framed in a compelling way, because these TEDx organizers, I have friends who organize, they get thousands, hundreds, if not thousands, if not, hundreds, if not thousands of applications per year for 10 to maybe 20 spots. So you need to stick out immediately with this application. And I can help you do that. And I really want to be able to support you in how you might get to that, get to the next stage at the very least. And once you get to the next stage, then there's, preparing you for that. So, like I said, if you're interested, please set up a breakthrough call. We'll talk about what your goal is, how you might be able to reach it, establish your idea, and maybe try and get you a mini plan on how you could start getting yourself ready to be on that stage in 2025. So great. Oh, thanks, Mavis. Great. Thank you. I have to leave for another work. No problem, Lori. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you for coming. Just but great, Joanne. Excellent. Excellent. Yes, please breakout call. Yeah, there's the, I'm going to put the link in there again and you can book the call. So I'm very excited. Thank you for hanging out. I know we're about 1 minute over, but this was a fun session. I've never given this one publicly, to as a free session. So I'm super glad. I'm hoping it was useful. If it was on a scale of 1 to 5, can you tell me, if this was helpful for you in rethinking how, or at least, thinking about your idea? 1 to 5. 5, 5, 5, 5. Yay, Joanne. Excellent. Love it. 7. Thank you, Veronica. 5, 5, 5. Excellent. 5. Beautiful. Oh, I'm so excited. I hope you guys book some time. I really want to meet you and I really want to know what your idea is. I love helping people get their ideas out there. Like I said, I work with a lot of disruptive social entrepreneurs, and honing in on their story makes all the difference between $100,000 investment and $1 million investment. For me here, it's about getting on, a small stage and speaking to a handful of people to getting on the biggest global stage in the world. So let's do this. I'm so excited. Thank you for hanging out with me. It was so fun, and thank you for engaging. I'm so excited to meet all of you personally. All right. Thanks, everyone. Have a great, great rest of your day, and hopefully I'll see you next Monday. Next Monday, don't forget, it's all about the structure of your talk. You're welcome, Sonia. Excellent. I'll see you all soon, hopefully. Take care.